Hi, and welcome to the Mobile UX Marathon, a series of weekly webinars at Google on how to improve user experience and conversion rates in mobile web. Today's webinar is on mobile UX best practices, and specifically we're going to discuss best practices for designing product detail pages, optimizing your checkout, and building excellent forms. Please ask your questions to us on Mobile UX Marathon website. We will be collecting them, and that's really going to shape the content on the live stream that's going to happen on the 14th of May, 2019, and we will try to address them all. You will also be able to answer questions in the chat during the live stream, so please join us. And before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Anna. I'm a user experience and design specialist at Google, and I work as a UX consultant with different companies around the globe. And what my team is doing, we are trying to help companies optimize experiences on their websites to see conversion rates going up. And we're trying to understand what are those best practices that really work well on mobile web, and trying to really test that with different verticals and industries and understand what are the differences. So today we tried to collect for you, again, some things that we believe should be relevant to all industries, more or less, that do have product detail pages, checkout, or forms in any case. So please, again, watch the video and ask your questions on the Mobile UX Marathon website. So I'm going to start with the product detail pages, and this is really where the checkout starts. This is where the entire conversion path starts, from the product detail pages, because that's kind of where the people, they already decide that they do want to buy the product, to proceed to the checkout, or they haven't decided it just yet, and we need to help them make this decision, okay? So let's have a look at a few examples of product detail pages that are designed really in a great way. Coolblue offers all the necessary information in a clear and concise way. The images are high quality and easy to swipe. The call to action is present throughout the page, and the items can be added to the wish list without an account creation. So that's the Coolblue example, and it reflects on the few basics of design in the landing pages, right? So first of all, you do need to show the key call to action displayed above the fold, right? And you can consider fixing the call to action on the bottom of the page. In this case, it's always available for the user. You can also test the call to action copy, right? It's important to be very clear and descriptive at the same time, but sometimes for some of the businesses, some of the products, you need to consider that you don't rush the user into commitment. So maybe there's some copy like add to cart would work better than buy now, or sometimes the urgent messaging can really push the users to add items to the cart and complete the purchase. So you do need to test those things. And what really helps also to make the decision is showing the value proposition. You can show the value proposition next to the call to action. And again, Coolblue does it in a really nice way. I can see the list with the bullet points, and they're very nicely organized, very clear and structured way. Remember Steve Krug and Don't Make Me Think book. He says basically that people that never read websites, they always scan them, and they scan websites for relevant information, for the keywords they're looking for. And this is exactly what the Coolblue team is doing. They highlight the relevant information on the just next to the call to action, and they organize it in a very nice and scannable bullet point list. And also another placement where they show the value proposition is on the top of the page, right? Just below the navigation panel. And the thing is that if you go, for example, on their homepage, and do check my webinar on designing the homepage, and I speak about the example of Coolblue as well. They do display the same value proposition: order before midnight and get the free delivery tomorrow. So what they do, they keep showing their value proposition throughout the funnel, and the same place on the homepage, on the product listing page, on the product detail page, and that is the way how they remind the people why they should stay on the website and proceed to explore, proceed to the checkout, why their functionality or service or offer is just the best. And yeah, I just said that in case of Coolblue, they do provide the secondary call to action add to wish list, and the items can be added to the wish list without an account creation. That is really, really great experience for returning users. What you can also consider, you can add secondary call to actions, for example, check in the store to enable offline conversions, or a very popular one, email me this item to enable cross-device conversions, because quite often what people do, they use mobile websites to explore, to compare options, to compare different brands or products, and later on, quite often they want to convert on bigger screens just because they prefer to do that. And that's why it's really important to provide this functionality for cross-device conversions, and you can say, email me this item, email me the bag, or anything else that people can later on open on desktop. And yeah, you do, again, if you have multiple visuals, you can consider implementing arrows, dots, or thumbnail images to make sure that users actually know that there are a lot of pictures available and they can swipe through them. And in general, regarding pictures, if you do have a great zoom functionality, which if you do, that's really fantastic, you need to find a way how to tell users about that, right? They won't know if you don't tell them. So you can add an icon or a text label, tap to zoom, or you can have both. Right? And in my videos, in the other webinar on the navigation, I discussed that quite often the combination of icon and a text label works best, because any icon is a room for misinterpretation, and adding text label is really increasing the clarity. And the other way around, if we just see the text, quite often adding some visuals helps our brain to recognize things instantly. And it's also important to allow users to swipe between images once they are in the zoom mode, and not ask them to close every single image and then open the next one. So now moving on to the next thing, and let's say the user is already convinced and they do want to buy the product, or at least just now to add the thing to the cart. And at this stage, it's very important to keep users within the context and not to redirect them to the cart directly, and to allow them to choose themselves whether they want to proceed to the cart or to continue browsing. So this can be implemented via a pop-up window that will, first of all, inform users that the product was added to the cart. Okay, so it's a really good feedback on users' actions. Second, you will have the few navigation options to go through the cart to continue shopping, right? That's how you basically put the user in control and they can make the decisions themselves. And the last but not least is this pop-up window is actually a great way for a great opportunity for upsell. And you can display either some other popular items that people usually buy with these products, or display how much the user needs to spend more for a free delivery. And I really wanted to show you just this case study that we've published with List. They upgraded their add to cart process. So before, they were redirecting the user right to the cart after they added an item to the shopping bag. And what they've added the pop-up window, add to cart, and where they were giving users options to either keep shopping or view back or check out directly. And they were also showing some very popular items that people would usually buy when buying that item that was just added to the cart. So as a result, they increased the average order value, which really confirms that this pop-up is not just great for user experience, as it keeps user in the context and puts them in control, but it's also really great for your business metrics. So I would encourage you to do this A/B test. And the next thing is about designing great forms, designing great checkout, and it's all about making these experiences really painless, simple, and easy to complete. Because that's the stage where the users, they already decided that yes, they do want to buy the product or I don't know, apply for a certain insurance product. So that's where you need to be very sure that you provide an excellent functionality here. So the next one is designing great checkouts and excellent forms. And this is where it's really important for you to understand that at this stage, people are already ready to buy the product and the service from you, and you need to make sure that this experience for them is painless, is very simple and easy, and all forms very short and concise, and you really manage the expectations of people about the process. So one of the basics of designing checkout or designing every form is managing, again, users' expectations about the steps that they need to complete. What exactly information will be required, how many steps there are, what are the steps. And that's why it's very important to display the progress bar right on the top of every form. And first of all, as we discussed before, the combination of text plus icons works best, right? So you do need to name every step very clearly so that I understand what information will be required from me, but also to use the icon maybe to illustrate, to give a hint about what the step is about. And the next thing is that when it comes to checkout of forms, it's important to have users to really concentrate on the task they're trying to complete. So for this reason, you can consider removing all possible distractions and all other navigation elements, for example, hamburger menu that you had before, or top navigation panel. Because that's really where they can lead people away from the purchase, away from the form. And what is okay to leave? So you can leave, for example, back to cart or back to the previous step. You still need to allow some navigation options for people to have. You can also leave there maybe contact support, ask a question, or you can leave in the navigation panel a company logo that can still take users to the home page. So, and the way to design these forms, you can either divide the form into few steps and display each of the steps at different page, or you can have a one-page checkout. And all in all, the progress bar is a must-have for both designs, for one-page checkouts and for multiple-page checkouts. It's just basically the way how you group information around certain steps and help users to understand the process. And I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having full descriptive call to actions. And for example, the users, they may consider just go into the next step and click on the button which is called next. Or on the button, there can be a text label, which is exactly the name of the next step. So proceed to payment, proceed to shipping information, proceed to the final step, maybe. So that's something that you need to test, but the best practice here is to be as descriptive as possible. And the next thing that you consider to test for your checkouts is one psychological trick, and here it is. So basically, users are, and people in general, are more motivated to complete the task when they're not starting from zero. So this has actually been proven in the offline world, and even before all the digital things have emerged. So it's called the goal gradient effect. For example, a 10-space coffee cart gets pre-stamped, faster than an 8-space coffee cart with no pre-stamps. So that's why if you, for example, in your checkout, you have 3 steps, you can create the fourth one, you can introduce the fourth step, which is already completed, right? For example, you can, in the example of booking.com, their step is your selection, but that's basically the step where I just decide that, okay, I want to get this hotel, I want to get this booking done. For example, in the retail example, you can have the first step, which is already complete, is the basket review, right? So you start the progress bar right in the basket and you mark the first step as already complete. Okay, so yeah, I do encourage you highly to test these things. Also, in the beginning of every form, you need to remind users the benefits of the form completion, the benefits of the registration, if that's an account creation form, and in general, tell them how easy it's to do it here, right now, so they're, again, being very motivated to do that. Always show a value proposition on the top of every form. And I would encourage you to test guest checkout. Different studies show different numbers, but on average, it's about a third of users is abandoning checkout just because it asks them to create an account. And I do understand that you do need this information to keep in touch with the user for your CRM systems, but just think about all the potential revenue that you may be losing because of the mandatory registration. In few of my recent webinars, I already mentioned that drop-downs are not experienced when it comes to designing for mobile web. And now let's gonna look into why. So first of all, the implementation that you can see on the left versus an implementation that you can see on the right is much more visual. The user can see all the choices available, and they can see what's available and make the informed decision. And also in the implementation on the left, it's always just one tab, and the implementation on the right, it's at least 2 tabs. One to open drop-down. If there are a lot of options in the drop-down, you will be also scrolling, and then you choose the option. Sometimes some few websites would also ask you to close the drop-down, so it's really, really a lot of tabs instead of just one. Also, if you have a drop-down, then the way it renders in the UI would depend on the operating system, whether it's Android or iOS. And in case you have the implementation on the left-hand side, you will be able to control how people see it in the UI. And yeah, the general rule here is that if you have less than 5 items to choose from, you can just show them right there in the body of the form. In case you have more than 5, you may consider implementing a pop-up window where the people can, again, in a very visual way, see all the options available, be able to scroll through them, tap and choose, and close the window afterwards. So definitely do avoid drop-downs, especially in mobile. So what is the best way to enter a date? So you can consider using mobile first calendar, right? It's a good way to use for dates that are relatively close to the current one. For example, for booking an upcoming travel. For the date of birth, the best way to get the input is by allowing users to manually tap in the date, right? So you don't ask people to really swipe all the years, all the months back to their date of birth. And the next one is inline validation. And inline validation helps users to understand in the moment if there are any errors, rather than having to submit the form to provide all the input and then see that that was all incorrect and they need to make changes. And it's especially important for one-page checkout, again, to avoid the situation when the user has completed the entire checkout form, click submit, and then all the mistakes are highlighted there. And if the user doesn't make a mistake, then you do need to let them know about that instantly and again in real time. Tell them exactly what they need to do to fix that, right? Don't blame the user. They probably didn't want to make this mistake, and be very careful with the copy and what exactly you say about the mistake. Be friendly and tell them in a nice and conversational way what they need to do. And at the same time, just in general, try to be forgiving about the input that people provide, right? Don't, be super strict about every single form field. That's how we can design our interaction with devices more in a more human way. And a perfect example here that I can give is that when people ask for a phone number, it can be entered in many different ways with brackets, or starting from zero, from plus, extensions, area codes, and so on. So having you need to spend a little bit more time on building the code for your website, but then the user's going to spend just much less time on entering the input for you. And also do use different scripts and APIs that exist there to ease the input of email addresses, suggesting, for example, most popular domains once the user enters the sign at, or there is a mail check script that can recognize the typos in very unpopular domains and suggest the correction right there in the form. And another way how you can ensure people do enter correct email address is you can leverage the information that is already stored in the browser. You can enable browser autofill, the information that the user has already trusted to give to the web, and you just need to enable this in different field types. This suggestion is basically a no-brainer, but yet it's quite often overlooked. It's actually overlooked way more often than you can think. So just bring up the most appropriate keypad type. According to the required field, you can use numeric one for phones, alphabetic plus @ for email address, and alphanumeric for mixed inputs, for example, passwords, different postal codes, car plates, and so on. And after that, so when we enter all the input into the form and we are ready to pay, we get redirected to the payment page, right? And here you also need to keep in mind that the badly designed payment page can harm the number of sales a lot, and you need to provide the best design here. Let's have a look at the few things that are important. So first of all, you need to display at the payment page different icons of payments methods, or different security icons that would ensure people that this place is a safe one for their payment details. Also, that definitely do show and to display prominently the payment amount right on the top of the page. Test the different CTA copy. You need to be very super clear that the payment is going to happen now, just a second after they click. And you can consider testing different call to action color, which color works the best, and which color also creates the trust for the users that this is a safe place to pay. And yeah, very important fact that is, in case you redirect people to the third-party service, the third-party provider, to collect the payment information, collect the payment for your product, you need to make sure this actually looks native to your website. So you need to have a degree to what extent you can customize the design of that page. That's really important, because customers see a completely different page from yours, from where they initially were, and some of them may just abandon cards because of this confusion, because of the fear that they are on the wrong payment page, which is actually happening quite often. So that's it about checkout, designing excellent forms, payment process. I would encourage you to check these resources on the Mobile UX Marathon website. Do check the Zero course Win on Mobile by my colleague Lina. It's really great, and it has a lot of things about designing excellent forms and helping users make decisions on the product detail pages and so on. Also, here I mentioned before, we will be having the live stream session, and in the live stream, we hope to answer your questions on mobile UX best practices. Do bring your questions with you or submit them to us in advance. Again, we hopefully will be able to answer them all, but if not, we're happy to run these live streams on a regular basis as well. So that's it for now. Do use MUX hashtag to post anything on social media about us. That's the way how we collect the feedback from you. And my name is Anna. I hope you really enjoyed the session with me today on UX best practices in mobile. And I'll see you on the 3rd week of May. Please bring your questions on mobile UX best practices to the EMEA live stream. I will be there on the in the other regions. There will be different colleagues, but yeah, please dial in, and we are waiting for you there. Thank you.